refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
Razaban IFL TV proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're here in Birmingham at the East Side Boxing Club ahead of Buatsi's return to Sky Sports. With me, the Omen, Spencer Oliver. Spencer, good to see you as always. The sun's out. How's life?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really good, Raz. Good to be up here in Birmingham, actually. It's a wicked show on Saturday night. Looking forward to seeing Buatsi return to the ring against Stepian, who's a decent fighter, unbeaten in 19. So, yeah, it'd be interesting, man. It'd be interesting. Looking forward to that.
He's been out the ring for quite a considerable amount of time. He's been quite inactive over the last couple of years. How much will that affect? How much does that affect a young fighter as he's continuously aging?
Inactivity is a big problem with fighters. You know, they need that to get the momentum, to keep it moving. Like, he's WBA #1 now. You know, Dan Aziz is WBA #2. We don't know what Dimitri Bivol's doing, the champion. We don't know where he's going to go. Is he going to drop down a weight? Is he going to box Canelo? You know, is he going to try and get a unification fight? We don't know what's going on with that. So, you know, these guys could be in line for a title shot very, very soon. So activity is key. Inactivity is not good. Joshua White's to be looking to get some good rounds under his belt. Stepian comes with a good reputation, to be fair. I've just been talking to Shakan Peters in there, who's boxing on the undercard. And he said he's been out there sparring with him. And he said, you know what, he's decent, he's game, he's going to bring a fight. So Buatsi has to be on the ball. So, yeah, it should be a good fight. But I think stylistically, Stepan is... he's the type of guy that looks stylistically right for Joshua Buatsi. You know, he walks forward, he likes to have a fight, keeps his chin quite high, and Buatsi, as we know, is very, very heavy-handed. So I think it's a good opponent for Josh, but he has to be on the ball here.
Have you seen a noticeable change in Joshua Buatsi's performance as a fighter and as a boxer since his link up with Virgil Hunter?
Listen, I think that they're working on new things. He's had plenty of time to work on those as well. You know, he had that good win against Bolotniks, and then last time out against Craig Richards. You know, tough fights, good learning fights, good development fights before you move on to that next stage. You know, Craig Richards is proven he's a world-class fighter, world-class operator, and that was a good fight with him and Buatsi. Buatsi needs to capitalise on that now, and he needs these victories. So, yeah, no, Stepian's a good opponent, but we need to see him in net then with someone, you know, of a higher pedigree. We want to see Buatsi versus Anthony Yard, don't we? You know, we want to see Buatsi versus Dan Aziz. You know, we want to see these guys mixing it up. There's world-class operators at light heavyweight over in this country. So, you know, if those titles are tied up with Bivol, these guys may have to fight it out. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing Buatsi back in the ring, because I've always said, you know, this kid is not just one of the best talents in British boxing, he was one of the best talents in world boxing. His career's been a little bit stop-start over the last 12 months or so. It's been a frustrating time for him. Now he's got that sorted, he's got that Sky platform, and hopefully we can see, we'll see the best of Joshua Buatsi. I think there's a lot more to come still.
We know Top Rank won the purse bids for Artur Beterbiev and Callum Smith, so it looks like that's going to be taking place quite soon. Yeah. Bivol, a manager, reportedly has said that he wants Bivol to fight in July, August. So, yeah, as you said, the belts are a bit tied up at the moment. So is it important for Buatsi that after this fight, he goes into some real fights?
Absolutely. You know, he's like I say that, you know, he can mix it up with, you know, who would love to see like Buatsi versus Anthony Yard? What a great fight that would be as a final eliminator for one of those titles against, you know, Beterbiev or you know, or what's his name? Yeah, and not Anthony Yard, yeah, but Bivol, sorry. Yeah, who wouldn't mind seeing that? You know, there's loads of decent fights out there. So hopefully we get one of those. But Buatsi, for me, is ready. I think this is like a tune-up fight, and then you've got to let him go. He's ready. You know, I know he's like 16-0 now, 13 KOs, but he's developed as a fighter, man. You know, since 2016, when in Rio Olympics, when he won that bronze medal, you looked at him and you thought, yeah, this kid is made for the professional ranks. And we've seen that in his pro career, but like I say, it's been a bit too inactive. But let's kickstart that now. Hopefully this is going to be a big year for him.
Ben Whittaker comes back after obviously an injury. He had that fantastic debut in I believe it was on the Chamberlain, Billam Smith undercard in Bournemouth. He then goes to Saudi Arabia and hasn't been, I think it was in August last year. Yeah. So he hasn't fought for a long time through an injury. So great to see him back and becoming active again?
Absolutely, yeah. That was the Joshua Usyk undercard, wasn't it? Back in August, and yeah, he's had problems. He's been out. Inactivity has been a big problem for him, but he's back now, fully fit. And I'm expecting a big performance actually on Saturday night. I like him. He's a big character. Reminds me a little bit of like a Nazim Hamid type showman outside of the ring. But there was something that like you warm towards him, you gravitate towards him. There's a cockiness about him, but it's not offensive. It's all right. It's good, and he can deliver in the ring. So I'm really looking forward to it, mate. Yeah, it's going to be a big night on Saturday.
Lauren Price has the opportunity to become the first British female champion. Fantastic for women's boxing.
Yeah, absolutely love that, don't you? Like Kirsty Brevion, yeah, that's going to be a good fight, man. It's going to be a solid fight. But yeah, it shows you how women's boxing is evolving. Since we go back, like, when was it? Last October? The all-women's show with Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields. Yeah, and now we're getting British title fights. It's going to be, yeah, historic moment for women's boxing, and we'll see how Lauren Price does. But, she's showed us some real class inside the ring, and I think that, yeah, Saturday night's going to be a big night for her.
Spent just away from this show, the board have ordered Fraser Clarke to take on Fabio Wardley. There's been quite a lot said by both sides. Ben Shalom has said his side, Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith have said their side. People were surprised that it wasn't David Adelaide or someone or Solomon, etc.
Yeah.
Call, and it was someone like Fraser who's only had 6 fights. But would you put Fraser in there with someone like Fabio now?
Listen, I think you could do that, but experience is key. Fabio Wardley's had more experience as a pro, obviously, than Fraser Clarke. But Fraser's been in the World Boxing Series. He's done that. He's been around a long time. He's experienced, and he probably feels ready. If I'm honest, Fraser. I think it's a fight that he wants, and it's a winnable fight for him, definitely. So why not? But the problem you've got is if you put him in that and he wins that title, it's all the fights after that. So it's one of those ones, isn't it? Has he been developed enough as a pro? He's only had 6 fights. He hasn't been in any real tests. So it's a big step up. Maybe, I was surprised that it was ordered, to be fair. But, he gets his opportunity, and we'll see how it plays out. But, yeah, it's a massive opportunity. Fraser. He's a decent talent, Fraser. He really is. But, yeah, it's all about timing. Let's see how it goes.
As I drove up here from London earlier this morning, I was watching your segment with, obviously hands-free, with Simon Jordan. And one of the things that you discussed was this heavyweight night in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, Simon Jordan was one of the first people to kind of talk about it a number of weeks ago, that there was a potential Joshua Wilder and Fury-Usyk taking place. Anything else you can tell us about this, Spencer? Have you heard anything else? Is it close? Is it going to happen? Are we going to see these fighters fight before then? What is going to happen?
Listen, I think the conversations are ongoing at the moment. I think that that there is, as you saw on the show, we were talking about purse splits, what fighters were going to get, etc., etc., etc. Who's agreed to it? Who hasn't agreed to it? I think from Joshua's side, I think Joshua and Wilder are both verbally said they want it. I think Alexander Usyk wants it. Tyson Fury, I'm not sure where he's at with it at the moment. I'm not sure if that's the stumbling block, whether he's demanding more or what. But I know the conversations are ongoing. It's still very possible that they were fighting in December. But I personally think that they're all going to go again. I think that we're going to see Fury in July, possibly July the 22nd, possibly against Andy Ruiz Jr., someone like that. That's where I see that one. I think we see Alexander Usyk. I think we see that in July, and we see that against Daniel Dubois. Anthony Joshua said that he wants to fight in 8 to 12 weeks. Then he said he's obviously focusing on December. But while we're still waiting for that, he'll probably go again in the summer. So I think we're going to see them all out. I think we are going to get that. Yeah, I think we'll get that summer showdown, but they'll all be in different fights. So it could be a very busy summer. I think it's all pending on whether they can get this deal done or not in time for December. Do you know what I mean? Because a tournament of that sort of magnitude, the guys might not want to pull it on the line. But if there's some uncertainty about it, I think they're all sort of ready and on standby to go.
But Spence, again, you said about there's so much on the line and they might not want to risk it, but why did Joshua put out, I'll be fighting in 8 to 12 weeks time or 12 weeks time, and then all of a sudden I won't be fighting until December? Yeah. Why not have that next learning fight under Derek James? Yeah,
listen, that's what I would do. That would be my advice to Josh. Say to him, listen, mate, what are you doing, mate? Like, we saw that there's still loads of things that need improving on. We saw little glimpses of it against Jermaine Franklin, but there was still not enough of it. We weren't seeing enough combination punching. We weren't seeing enough rawness, enough aggression. Do you know what I mean? We weren't seeing. We seeing phase 1. We weren't seeing phase 2. There's stuff that he needs to work on still. So I'd like to see him go again, but we don't know what those conversations are and who's going where and who's having what. But the last conversation I had with Joshua was that he was going to go in 12 weeks. You know, that's where he wanted to go in 12 weeks. And then obviously he's released statements. I've not spoken to him since then, but he's released statements saying December. So does that tell us something about this competition in December? And perhaps the guys think, right, I'm just going to prepare for that. You know, so we'll see how it goes.
We know Joshua isn't scared to fight. He'll fight anybody, of course, absolutely. But based on his last performance with Franklin, where a lot of people said, he didn't look like the old Joshua that we thought that we were going to see. He didn't look great against Usyk. Obviously, Usyk's a very high-level elite fighter. Is there that element of, if I do fight someone like Dillian Whyte in the summer, I could potentially lose. I might lose out on this big payday in Saudi Arabia against Deontay Wilder?
Well, listen, heavyweight boxing, mate, we've seen it historically, over the years, man. Like, upsets happen. People lose fights, and I think that Joshua may be in a position where he goes, well, if I lose, I'm putting it all on. So from a business perspective, why would I take that risk? Because Joshua's got to box at a good, decent level. He can't be going to box anyone at a lower level than, let's just say, Dillian Whyte, and that's at a decent level. People like Dillian Whyte can knock you spark out. That is a fact. So he may be saying, look, from a business point of view, I'm not gonna run a risk. But I think I know that Eddie Hearn's been over there and he's been having conversations. So promoters are talking, Frank Warren as well, and let's just see what happens with it all. But I think that it's still very much a possibility, and be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. I think as a fight fan, though, we need this badly, with the disappointment of all the fights falling through. Your casual fans looking at this again, what sort of sport is this? You know what I mean? The politics of it all keep stopping these big fights from happening. We need these big fights, so if it happens over in Saudi and we get this 4-man tournament, so be it, man. I just want to see it now.
Spencer, it was a pleasure. I know we've got the media workout behind us, about to kick off. So yeah, we'll catch up. We've got press conference tomorrow, weigh-in Friday, and then fight night on Saturday.
Looking forward to it, mate.
Spencer Oliver, IFL TV, thank you very much.
Because I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt wins. Right, the bouncer's guilt wins.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,